Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mel. I grew up playing outside.
And I grew up doing something meaningful, watching movies and TV.
I never had cable, and we finally bought a VCR about the same time DVD players hit the market.
Throughout our marriage, Mel has sadly missed many of my pop culture references and movie quotes.
So it's time to catch up on all the films I missed.
Good evening.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Melissa. So, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, just have some popcorn ready for a movie.
Oh, is that what that means? Okay. I do. I wonder, I really don't know. Genuinely, I don't know what the origins are with popcorn and movies. Like, why are they intrinsically connected now? I know for me personally, it's just you would always see it when you go into the movie theaters. It's there. It's in the previews, Anyway, I just wonder where it came from. I've never looked into it.
I've read that in Italy, they eat lupini beans like popcorn during movies.
We eat lupini beans a lot in our family, actually. Wow.
Does it have anything to do with the movie we're watching tonight?
Well, I mean, when you go into a movie with your popcorn and your big drink, you feel like you're prepared for anything. Like you could take on the world, Like you could be a one-man army. Yeah. Anyway, just a thought. Just having those deep thoughts I have sometimes before we watch a movie. You know how I get. Yeah. Speaking of one-man armies, do you know what we're watching tonight?
Taking on the World, One-Man Army, Forrest Gump. Outcast.
Forrest Gump. Where did you get either of those
Castaway.
from?
I just said Outcast.
Yeah.
I meant Castaway.
I'm picturing the rapper.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because we just watched a Tom Hanks movie. That's why.
So Forrest Gump takes on the world, though?
Well, he was in the army. And he impacted everyone that he was around. So.
Okay. What about Castaway? How does that...
I don't know.
You just still got Tom Hanks on the brain?
That's exactly.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay. Any other clues?
I mean, I use gifs of a preparation scene in this movie quite often.
Red Dawn.
No, but that's a really good guess.
Okay.
I got a note to self. Look for gifs of Red Dawn that I can use in communicating.
Is it another Rambo?
I mean, this character would probably be offended if you called it Rambo, but it's not Rambo, no.
I'm really not coming up with the answer here. Okay. What are we watching?
We are watching a film called Commando. Why are you laughing?
Isn't that like not wearing underwear? We're watching a movie about not wearing underwear.
What do you think this movie? Have you ever heard of this movie?
No, I've never heard of this movie.
What do you think it's going to be about?
Not underwear.
I'm just picturing people going into convenience stores like Commando now as like the danger of the movie. Anyway, okay.
I don't know.
You don't know what it's about?
Well, you just said it's the army of one taking on the world. So is it like survival?
It could be.
Oh, yeah. And then I said Red Dawn. That was a good guess you said. So I'm just going to go with like invading force. And one man is like, or woman.
Sure.
Or one underwear model is.
Is it an underwear model? Because it's Commando.
One non-underwear model.
Non-underwear model. I'm picturing like the wanted ads. Not wanted. One non-underwear model.
One model willing to go commando. Okay, let's get off that.
We're loopy. Wow.
So
loopy beans.
Stop.
So yes.
Okay, so I think it's like an invading force survival.
Okay.
Defend yourself movie.
Okay.
Based on all the clues that you have just given me.
I gave you way more clues than I normally do too. That's I'm feeling very gregarious. Commando. So, what are some things you're dreading about this or excited about? You don't know very much about it, so.
No. Well, I like survival movies.
Okay.
And I like movies where kind of, where you're the threat that's unknown, right? Like I'm blanking on the name of the movie. The Bruce Willis in the Christmas movie.
Die Hard?
Die Hard, yeah. Where he's
Bruce Willis in the Christmas movie.
Thank you.
Oh my. Wow. Yes.
I like movies like that. So I'm excited I'm hoping it's something sort of like that.
If you think this is a movie about a person, a man or a woman who's fighting off something, who do you think it's going to be? What actor?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean,
who do you want it to be? Don't say Tom Hanks.
That's a good question.
I have a couple.
A couple good questions?
Yeah, sometimes. Occasionally.
What about Arnold?
Arnold?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
What's his last name?
Schwarzenegger.
I just like saying his last name. Okay. It'd be fun if it was Arnold. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Or like Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy? Why would it be fun to have Arnold, and then why would it be fun to have Eddie Murphy?
Oh, because I mean, a good classic Arnold action movie is always good.
Okay.
And Eddie Murphy because he's like my new favorite of all time.
Fair enough.
So I want to see him in everything.
Okay.
Or yeah, I don't know.
I'm kind of imagining this movie, because I obviously know what it is, with Eddie Murphy as the main character, and then playing all the other characters in the movie. Which is actually quite hilarious now that I'm running it through my mind.
Like a Nutty Professor situation?
Yes, except for, how
Commando.
this movie runs out. Yes.
Okay.
That would be amazing.
Well, didn't Austin Powers kind of do that?
A little bit, yeah.
In a more dramatic
Mike Myers
sense?
definitely sprinkled in the characters, yeah.
Okay, I've got nothing.
Nothing else?
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. You don't have to. Anything you're worried about with this at all? Are you?
Could be cheesy.
Could be cheesy, okay.
Could be like, I don't know. It could be not interesting.
Fair enough. I can't wait to talk about this one afterwards. Give me a movie poster and a tagline, and we can go get to it.
Okay, so it's like it's a tree line.
A tree line, okay. Okay. And a Red Dawn.
Does that? I don't know.
No.
What Red Dawn has, but it's a tree line. So it's like shadows, black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a shadow of a man.
Okay.
With a gun.
Okay.
Like a rifle.
Rifle, got it.
And the tagline is, he had to take them on.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Fair enough. Let's go check it out.
Okay. Commando, here we come.
Here we come. Let's go, Commando.
They hunted him down.
You know, Colonel, we went to a lot of trouble to find you.
They murdered his friends. And they took the only thing he would kill for.
If you want your kid back, then you gotta cooperate. Right? Wrong.
Now, somewhere, somehow, someone's gonna pay.
Do you think that he is going to give us any problems?
You'll do exactly as he's told.
Hasta luego, fellas.
You're a funny guy, Sully. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
Are you gonna tell me what's going on or what?
No. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired. What are you doing?
Helping you get her back.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's what made you did.
I lied.
If it's a mission no man can survive, he's the man for the job. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Commando.
Let's party.
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm so frozen right now because I always have the urge whenever we watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger film to do my Arnold accent. And in my moment right there when we were starting to record, I was like, there's so much I could say right now, and I froze. I froze. But you know who didn't freeze in this movie?
Who?
Matrix.
John Matrix.
John Matrix.
Nope.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, obviously. Hopefully that's obvious. I can't tell you how proud I was of you when we were talking about this and you had no idea about this movie and you were like, I don't know, it's probably an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. I was like, it only took 70 episodes, but she's finally reaching the plateau.
I'm like, okay, so if I have tentacles, right?
Mm-hmm. The summit. I meant summit. Yes, tentacles.
One of my tentacles is now on a little bit of the pop culture stream. I'm a little plugged in.
You're a little plugged in.
I felt like that was a result.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's hilarious about this whole endeavor is you're finally going to be like fully plugged in to the pop culture zeitgeist of people of our age. And like people younger, no connection. Then we'll have to figure that out too. So
well, then I can just direct them to this podcast.
Exactly. Go here for knowledge and learnings. Wow. I love that movie.
You do?
I had not seen that movie in quite some time, but as I told you while we were watching it, I think of it every time I chop wood. I have an axe and chainsaws and everything, and I literally think of this movie every single time. And then the other reason this movie, I'm not kidding, this movie's like kind of like Rome for me. You know how there's that trend of like, how often do men think of ancient Rome?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not obviously as frequent, hopefully, but I think about it. I mean, whenever I'm getting ready for a meeting at work, or if I have to get prepped for a presentation, the montage of him getting ready and smearing his camo on goes through my mind.
Really?
Yes. So I think about this movie, I don't know, at least 3 times a month.
Wow. How many times did you watch this movie when you were a kid?
Maybe once or twice. I didn't see it a ton. It definitely was enough it was one of those, whenever it was on cable, you just have it on the background. It was definitely a solid entry like that.
Okay.
But, oh my goodness, like, I think you coined it best. It's just a fun movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't have to think.
Yeah, exactly. You don't.
My contention on that, though, was trying to figure out the bad guy's outfit. That's the only thing I thought about the whole movie.
There were 2 bad guys. It was like the main bad guy and then his lackey, who knew Arnold personally. Yes, they had served together.
Bad blood.
Yeah.
And I think he had an Australian accent, but he served in the U.S. military. That's also slightly confusing, but whatever.
Yeah, and he also, the big mystery for us was, is he wearing chainmail?
Yes. Or does he just like crocheting?
The actor, he described his look in this movie as, quote, Freddie Mercury on steroids.
That's so perfect.
It is.
He has a mustache too.
Yes.
Wow.
And piercing eyes.
Wow. That just made my day.
But was it chainmail? Please, I want to know.
I really want to know too. Like, I kept waiting, like maybe he's in my head, right? Mm-hmm. We'll go over the plot in a second. This is way more important. In my head, he is like a knife guy. He's super into knives, and he like is ready to go into knife battles at any time.
Everyone knows a knife guy.
Everybody knows a knife guy.
You've got one in your life.
Every single person knows a knife guy. This is true. So I just have to think, he so embraced the knife guy lifestyle that he was like, even though I live in the 80s, I'm going to have chainmail because you can't pierce chainmail with a knife.
I hope that's true. I hope that's what his character background was thinking.
I also think, too, if it weren't metal, if that were just impractical for him, he was like, it'll be crocheted, but people will think it's metal. And so it will deter them from wanting to stab me.
It's urban camouflage.
Urban
I almost said camouflage. No, I did say it.
Urban flash. It's urban flash. Wow, that was fantastic. Can you give us a quick summary of this film, please?
I'd be delighted. So Arnold served in the army or whatever.
In the army or whatever.
In some elite force.
He sure did.
And an enemy that he made from that time in his service is out to like kill everyone in his troop or whatever.
Yes.
And so he starts off and you just see him going through and like killing people. Mm-hmm. They've since repatriated to society. One is a car salesman. So then he comes after Arnold. Arnold, he's trying to retire and live with his daughter in this amazing house in the country in the mountains.
It's glorious.
Where he chops wood and like his daughter makes the sandwiches and it's great. And then they come after him. But so before the bad guy gets to him, his army general guy is like, he comes out in a helicopter to warn him and leaves 2 soldiers to protect him, which of course they're not going to. No,
they're like,
don't protect Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Each of those guys is like the size of each of Arnold's biceps in this movie.
Yes. Which, by the way, before I knew it was Arnold in the movie, in the opening, he's walking through the woods with a log.
Yes.
Like a whole tree trunk on his shoulder.
Yes.
And I was like...
That's what I do, right?
Exactly how you do
exactly what I do.
And you saw his muscles.
Yes.
And so this is what was going through my mind. I was like, okay, it's either down to... I'm blanking on his...
Stallone. You said Stallone.
Yeah. It's either Stallone or Arnold. But the muscles...
Yes.
Like his bicep.
Yes.
His bicep. It looks like when you're drawing mountains and you kind of go up and down and up and down and they're kind of rounded.
Yes.
He had like 2 of those. And I was like, that's not a Stallone bicep. This has got to be Arnold. And boom, it was Arnold. Okay. Had to share that.
I forgot about the reveal. So knowing that you were going to be trying to figure out which action star was in it, it just made it that much more awesome. Because anybody who saw this movie in theaters, like, they knew it was a Schwarzenegger movie. You heard it in the preview and in the poster, which, by the way, this is the poster.
Ooh. It's Arnold.
It's just Arnold.
With his like war paint on and a vest.
And his whole name takes up the top or the bottom. And it's just huge.
There's no tagline.
There's a tagline. Don't you worry. There's a tagline.
Okay.
I don't remember what it is, but there's one. There's always a tagline.
Of course.
So
anyway, back to the summary, back to the plot. So the bad guy basically kidnaps his daughter and holds her hostage for him. And he wants Arnold to go to Venezuela and kill the next president so that the bad guy can go back to being a dictator.
Yeah, he was the current president. Like, Arnold overthrew one guy who was a dictator, so the dictator's angry, and he wants Arnold to go back and reverse the damage from his perception that he did.
Yeah, and so Arnold's like, sure, following along. And he gets on the plane. Yeah. He's going to Venezuela, but he doesn't even leave the airport. He doesn't even leave the tarmac or the runway or whatever.
Yeah.
And he does this really cool thing where he gets off the plane. And we can go into that in more detail. But for the sake of the summary, he comes back and he basically takes on all the guys, saves his daughter, saves the day. And it's great. It is a great,
great film.
Yeah.
If you've not seen it, it is a mindless, just fun movie to watch. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. We've already discussed the most troubling part of the movie and the most perplexing part. Yeah.
Right. The chainmail question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what was what do you think was the biggest missed opportunity in this film?
Biggest missed opportunity?
Yeah. I have one.
Huh. While I think about that,
sure,
some people might answer that. Mm-hmm. There's a woman that Arnold Schwarzenegger she's a flight attendant.
Rae Dong Chong?
Yes. Rae Dong Chong? Rae Dawn?
Rae Dong Chong.
Okay. Yeah.
We're talking about her before we're done with this, so don't let me forget.
Okay, yeah. She was in The Color Purple, which I never saw.
Okay.
And she's also known for this movie called Quest for Fire, which I never saw. So much for having my tentacle on the pulse of culture. Okay. So anyway, so he ends up like basically getting her to help him. And at first she's unwillingly going along. It's almost like he's kidnapping her to help him find the bad guy and find his way back to his daughter because he doesn't know where they are at that point. And then she becomes a willing assistant. What's the accomplice?
Yes.
And so some people, they might think that the missed opportunity was that there was no like romantic relationship between them. And they actually filmed a scene of them being romantic.
Oh.
And it didn't screen well. And so they just scrapped the idea. And so she just stays like a platonic accomplice.
I feel like you have vestiges of that in the ending of the movie.
A little bit.
Like, he puts his arm around her and she hugs the daughter and stuff like that. So it very much feels like there's gonna be some kind of connection in the future with the way it was shot.
Yeah.
Like the way it was produced.
Yeah.
Wow. What was I saying? You said a whole bunch of things.
Oh, you asked me about missed opportunities.
Oh, yeah, missed opportunities. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bennett, which was the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear Arnold go, Bennett, come at me, Bennett, a lot. So many great things. I knew a Bennett. There was a family I grew up with named the Bennetts. So Bennett is very much a part of my psyche. So hearing Arnold say Bennett is hilarious to me. Just a me thing. Anyway, at the point where they're having the big old knife fight at the end, Bennett could have looked at Arnold while he was holding Alyssa Milano and said, who's the boss now? Biggest missed opportunity.
I couldn't agree more. So Alyssa Milano, I recognized her and I was like, yeah, I knew her name, but I don't really know what I know her from.
Well, you know her from Who's the Boss?
Yeah, I think that's probably the big one.
That's the big one, which was a big reveal for you. You didn't know that before this, right? Okay.
No.
The other thing she's known for is a TV series called Charmed. It was one of the inaugural, back when, oh my goodness, I don't remember how many name changes they've gone through. You know it as the CW.
Right, I was just going to say.
The W as a part of the CW is Warner Brothers.
Right.
And it was the WB when it came out as a television network.
Yeah.
And I'm not going into that. There's film studio history. I'm not doing it. I'm not falling for the temptation. She was in that, which was kind of like one of the big shows when the WB was being formed. And she was in that with Shannon Doherty and what's her name from Party of Five.
Hewitt?
What's that?
Jennifer Love Hewitt?
No. The girl from Scream. I always blank on her name though. Anyway.
Sydney.
Rose McGowan, not the girl from Scream. See, Holly Marie Combs, she reminds me, there's a lot of actresses, shockingly, who look the same. So
I know, I call them Hollywood doubles.
Yes, there's some Hollywood doubles. The originals, though, were Rose McGowan, Alyssa Milano, and Shannon Doherty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I know.
I totally just got that wrong, too. Oh, my goodness. I'm getting so convoluted. Don't worry about it. If you care about Charmed, go look up the history. There was a whole bunch of cast changes. The point is, Alyssa Milano was on that show.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. and Alyssa Milano discussion.
Let's move on to the only other female character in this film, shall we?
Yes.
Rae Dong Chong.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the most magnificent factoid about her is, in my opinion?
No, I have no idea.
Do you know who her father is?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do.
Say it.
Well, I don't know his full name, but he's of the
Tommy.
duo Cheech and Chong.
Yes, Tommy Chong.
Oh my gosh, because she was in one of their movies.
Was she?
She was. I saw that in her
okay.
profile. Yeah.
All right. That makes sense why she was in it then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes. Some friends of ours, there's a comedian singer who sings a song about her too, and some friends of ours really like it, but you wouldn't know that.
Cool. Yeah. How do you think she did in this movie?
I think she did pretty good. No, it was solid 80s acting.
Yeah. Yep.
Solid 80s acting. She had the indignant, oh my goodness, the creepers that were messing with her in this movie were crazy.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, wow, women have things to deal with, and they had even more things to deal with in the past, and it's just crazy sometimes.
Yeah, one of the bad guys, he followed her to her car in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And luckily Arnold was there, but he left, right? The bad guy left.
She just went from the bad guy to Arnold.
I know.
And she had no context to know that Arnold was a good guy or not.
I know.
She just knew this guy was kind of kidnapping her.
Yeah.
So can only imagine what's going on through her brain. How do you play that? Yeah.
And her first introduction to Arnold was he put a hand on her shoulder, although he's crouched beneath her, right? So that's unsettling. And then he's like, get in the car. He opens the passenger side and he rips out the seat, the chair. Like he just rips it out like it's like he's pulling a marshmallow off of a stick.
And she's got this classic little convertible car too.
Yeah.
Which was such a sweet car.
All the cars in this movie I wanted. Like they were all awesome.
Well, yes. This, the budget on this had to be crazy because the cars used and some of the shots they did. I think one of the things you noticed about this movie, you're like, oh my goodness, it actually had a satisfying ending.
Yes. Yeah.
And it actually, what did you say? Usually movies will end at...
Okay, so at the ending, he's in this, it's underneath the building. It's where the boilers are and stuff. And he kills the bad guy and he gets his daughter.
He has a great line when he kills him too.
Bennett let off some steam.
Yeah, he threw a pipe through his body from a distance like a javelin. And then the steam is pouring out of the pipe and the guy's dead.
Oh,
and he says, let out some steam, Bennett.
They had like 3 different lines for that ending, and they went with that one.
There's such great Arnold hokey action movie lines in this movie.
Yeah, totally. So okay, so at the ending though, he normally a movie from the 80s would have ended there, credits rolling, and you're still in the boiler room.
Yeah.
But this movie it just took maybe 30, 60 more seconds, and it had such a better, satisfying ending. You see the army guys roll up to help him.
Yeah.
And he strides out holding his daughter, Alyssa Milano, in his arms, even though he's been like stabbed and shot.
Yes.
Holding her like she's a nothing.
Like a toddler. It's crazy seeing him hold her.
And he strides out, and the army guy's like, did you leave anything for us? And he says something like, just a bunch of bodies.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the water where this airplane on the water is waiting with
Ray Dong-chung.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's waiting there for him, and they get into the plane and they fly away. And it wasn't like that much longer, but it was like immensely more satisfying.
Yes. And I was noting too, like literally that, what was that? Maybe 2 minutes on screen. And that was probably a high portion of their budget, because they had like 3 helicopters fly in. They had all the actors in there who had guns and gear and all that stuff. And then they even had like a Navy Coast Guard vessel, if you noticed that, off in the back of the distance. And they rented that plane to fly away and like roll all that. So it's just crazy. Like you think about that, like the little flourishes. It makes me realize why a lot of 80s action movies probably didn't do it, because they didn't have the budget for it.
But for Arnold, spare no expense.
I mean, he was a vehicle at this point. And I guarantee you did this while we watched the movie. Arnold in this movie says, I'll be back.
Yes.
And you went,
he said it again.
Audibly gasped. And I bet people in theaters when that happened were like, yeah.
Oh, another tie-in to Terminator 2.
Yeah.
The mall where they have that whole confrontation with the mall cops and everything.
Yes.
That's the same mall that they used for Terminator 2 as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's since been renovated.
I guess he was back.
He was.
What else did you have? I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about because they make me nerd out.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you.
Please.
How does so when you have an action movie and then this movie in particular, the writer-director strikes like this balance between reality and fantasy or over the top or like impossibility.
Okay.
There's kind of a balance. How do you think the writer kind of tried to keep a balance between reality and fantasy in this movie?
Oh my goodness. I mean, as you were saying that, I'm like, she's going to ask me what part of this movie is realistic. And I'm like, not really any of it.
That's hilarious. So there is no balance. It's all fantasy.
I think this one was pretty much fantasy, because the only thing that's real is like not even the laws of physics are real because of what he does. He literally lifts up a phone booth and tips it over. He literally picks up a car and he like tips that over. Like he's like the Hulk in this movie, kind of.
Okay. Funny thing about the phone booth, the one he picks up is made of balsa wood.
Okay.
But at the time, he could bench press 450 pounds, which is about what a real phone booth weighs. So that actually
he could have
was real.
He could have
realistic.
Sure. But anyway, like laws of physics, like bullets hit things and things. I wouldn't even say explode. He put up like one claymore, and one claymore made 2 entire buildings explode. Which, if you don't know,
from the inside out.
And a claymore is a directional explosive. It'll like fire like shrapnel and explosion in like one specific direction. So anyway, not a whole lot's realistic.
Well, okay, so why do you think it was so important to show him as being strong? Like they went out of their way, like with the phone booth in the car, like you said. And there's another part where there's like 8 mall cops on him, and then he kind of goes up with like this huge punch, and they all kind of like fly off of him.
It's the classic, you're being pinned down, and then you do the and then they fly away. It was probably important for them because of who he is. Like this was like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I don't know if it would have worked quite as well. It'd be interesting to know who else was considered for the casting. Because like he he was getting famous, and this is just a great vehicle to show off his strength. Like you have him in a movie like Conan, where he's really strong, or different characters in the past have done like Hercules and stuff like that, where you have the big strong guy do that. So I think leveraging that, and also for the sake of the movie and the laws of whatever that exist in it, even though it's not realistic, it makes sense because he's this guy who could take on everybody. So they're just showing you, seeding why he can take on everybody.
Maybe that's part of the balance that I was thinking of between like reality and fantasy, is that like this is what people want to be able to do.
Yeah.
Right. And like the feelings are real, right? The feeling of wanting your daughter back and willing to do anything you want for her. Those are real. Even though the action borders on impossible.
Yeah. It just dawned on me, a more realistic version of this movie is Taken with Liam Neeson.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
That one's way more realistic than this one was.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, there were parts of it that were not realistic, of course, but anyway, yeah.
Okay, you had some questions.
Well, I nerd out when I see names I recognize in films, especially if I didn't realize they were producers or musicians at the time. And James Horner did the score for this, which this is one of those soundtracks, like in my mind, I probably convoluted with Cocktail because both of them, Cocktail had some steel drums from the island music,
Sure.
And this movie had a very strong tone of steel drums for some reason. I don't know why he chose that. It was an interesting choice, but anyway, James Horner. Name 2 films he did the score for, Melissa.
James Horner?
I already gave you one while we were watching it.
You did?
I did.
You mean the one we're talking about right now?
No, when we were watching the film, I was like, oh, it's James Horner. And you were like, who? And I said, the guy who did. And then I said the name of a movie.
I forgot. Sorry. Uncle Buck?
I'd have to look. I'll give you a hint.
I'm ready for a hint.
2 of the highest grossing films of all time. One of them you saw in theaters multiple times.
Titanic.
That's one.
He did the score for Titanic?
I did.
And highest grossing Avatar?
Actually, he did instrumentation in Titanic. Sorry. He just was involved with it.
Okay. Avatar?
Avatar.
Oh. Wow. My mind went, wait. My mind instantly went to Jurassic Park, and then I was like, what movies did John Williams not do that were big?
I know. It feels like he does all of them all the time.
Yeah.
It really does.
So what? Okay, I was thinking about this. A lot of the music in this movie has steel drums or sexy saxophone, and
yes, it does.
It seems incongruous with what's happening.
It sure is.
So do you think that it helps with the tension? Do you think that was a good choice?
I don't even I really don't know. He must have been trying to just have a contrast going on.
I feel like the steel drum actually helps with the tension because it's it gets annoying and you want it to stop.
Well, I think the steel drum was trying to buy into the whole Miami Vice feel in the 80s. This is the early 80s. So kind of like bad guys, grimy crime, Miami Vice feel. That's what my inkling is the steel drums were kind of born out of that. That'd be my guess.
As a former owner of a Miami Vice cassette soundtrack,
Fair
I will
enough.
let you know there are no steel drums on the soundtrack for Miami Vice.
I just mean emotionally. Emotionally, you're thinking of palm trees when you hear Miami Vice.
I think it was more to do with
calling me out, by the way. I love it.
It's for my brother.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it was more for the buzzing in your ears effect.
Mm-hmm.
It was effective in that way, I would say.
What were your favorite parts of the movie, if any?
A lot of the quips between Ray Don Chong and Arnold.
Yeah.
Their relationship is fun.
Okay.
Her using the rocket launcher.
Yes, that was great.
In the wrong direction.
Yes.
First. And then he's like, how did you learn to do that? And she's like, I read the instructions. That's all fun stuff. I want to say, we had to pause the movie and then we like backed it up a little bit. So we ended up watching this one scene twice.
Yeah.
And it's when he has the bad guy who is following her out to her car. And he's literally dangling him over a cliff by his foot.
He sure is.
And earlier he had said that he was going to kill him last.
Yeah. Go to kill you last, Sully.
And then when he's holding him over the cliff, he's like, you know how I told you I would kill you last? I lied. And then he just lets go.
Yes.
That made you laugh both times.
It is so, I'm almost laughing right now because it's just such great, stupid writing. I love it. It's so great. It's like Last Action Hero. This movie is like part of the Last Action Hero canon. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie where he plays an actor who's a cop and all this other stuff. But like the suspension of belief, right? Mm-hmm. This movie totally fits into that realm, you know? So
when they filmed that scene, the director, I think it was, he wanted Arnold to literally just hold him by his ankle over the cliff. And Arnold was like, are you crazy? And so they used a crane to do it.
Oh,
you have to know your limits.
That's hilarious. Wow.
I also shout out to like the kid. I love it when they make kids like strong and good in a movie and not like the foil to the the cause of the problem.
Yeah.
So I liked that Alyssa Milano, she was like smart and she started to figure out a way to get out of her little room that she was being held prisoner in.
They kind of touched on that in the early montage of Happy Family Life. He's like teaching her self-defense and showing her how to do different things. So that's kind of cool.
I forgot about that montage.
Yeah. Do you, the other thing I want to mention too is this is like a Joel Silver film, which has such a weird tie-in now that I look at it and refresh myself about what he's produced. He's famous for producing Die Hard, which you may recognize.
Well, a similar storyline too, to one guy against all the bad guys. Yeah. Okay, go on.
But the other movie that he's wildly famous for producing is The Matrix.
What?
And the character in this movie's name is John Matrix. Just blew my mind. Like, that can't be a coincidence.
Man, I loved The Matrix.
I know.
That's cool. That's really, really cool.
Anyway, I thought that was neat. This movie, you know how I love to interconnect movies?
Yeah.
This movie is after Predator happens. And it's the guy from Arnold and Predator. He survives and he comes home because he was part of like an elite commando unit, you know? And he comes home and now he's just trying to live his life. Like it's the same guy in my head.
Yeah. That's a great connection.
Also, one of the characters in the movie is the same actor. Like, what was his name? Cook. It's Bill Duke. And he was in both movies too. He's the, Anyway, he's in both movies, but he dies in both movies. So maybe it's a twin brother if we want to hold to this whole thing of it being the same universe. But
obviously a twin brother.
Obviously, it's Avatar situation.
Go for the soap opera fix. Dun, dun, dun.
All right.
If I could have done that in steel drums, I would have.
If you were in this movie as a bad guy, what would you do to try and stop Arnold when he's on his one-man war against it? You know?
Ooh. That's hard because he is so unstoppable.
I know.
Because going to an island didn't work. Because he flew there.
Nope.
And then he got on his Speedo.
Yeah, he did, which changed colors a couple times.
A little continuity there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what my objective is to get him to come to me so I can kill him, right? Or is my objective...
You just want to kill him. So how would you kill him?
I'm gonna go really over the top and say a pit with a tiger or a lion inside.
How are you going to get him to go in it?
Well, obviously, his daughter will be like across the pit and he'll have to run across it and then fall in.
I'm just picturing you like trying to do that and then he just touches you and you fall in the pit. Like that's what would happen. Yeah.
Okay, so that's my crazy jungle plan.
That's a wonderful plan.
What would you do?
I would go on a pretend smoke break.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of villains get dispatched. I said this multiple times in the movie. I'm like, that guy's just doing his job. Or he's just blah, blah, blah. He's been working all day. He goes out for a smoke break, gets his throat sliced. I'd go for a fake smoke break where I would be assuming there would be a muscle-bound man trying to kill me. So I'd be ready for him. Right?
Yeah.
And I would do something weird to like draw his attention. We'd be like, I want to see what's going to happen here. And then I would like fake something, but I'd be aware the whole time. And then I would pounce on him.
Okay.
That would be I'd probably die too, but maybe I would live another 4 seconds. I don't know. Anyway.
You need like a good line, like a one-liner, and maybe that would impress him.
Maybe it would.
Or he'd be like, oh, you are too witty.
I'm going to go with, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. That's another Clerks reference because I love those. So, what, if any, messages do you think were in this film, Melissa?
Don't give up. And
don't give up. Okay.
Build your muscles. Drink your milk and eat protein.
You stole mine. Mine was going to be milk is for babies. Because that's what Arnold said in his Pumping Iron documentary.
Here's another message. Sometimes a movie is just for fun.
Oh, it sure is.
And you don't need to think.
So let the good times and body bags roll.
Your words. All right, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Oh, and only go Commando if you're really ready for it. That's a wrap.
Tell us what you think of this film in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.